Long ago in Babylon, a city of wonders and towering walls, lived a man named Daniel. Daniel wasn't from Babylon, but he worked for the king, helping run the vast kingdom. He was known for his honesty, kindness, and wisdom, qualities that made him stand out in the bustling city. Daniel's secret? He loved God with all his heart and trusted him above all else. This love guided Daniel's every choice and gave him courage, even when life in Babylon was challenging. While others chased riches or fame, Daniel simply wanted to please God. His faith made him different, and it set the stage for an incredible adventure. In a city full of noise and excitement, Daniel's quiet strength would soon be put to the test. How did Daniel stay so close to God? Through prayer. 3 times a day, Daniel knelt by his window facing Jerusalem and talked to God. He shared his worries, his thanks, and his hopes, just like talking to a best friend. Prayer wasn't a chore for Daniel. It was his favorite part of the day. It filled him with peace and courage, no matter what was happening around him. People passing by might have seen Daniel praying, but he didn't care what they thought. His habit of prayer made his heart strong and brave. Daniel's faithfulness in prayer would soon be challenged in a way he never expected. But for now, he simply trusted God day after day, and that trust would make all the difference. The mighty King Darius ruled Babylon, and out of all his helpers, Daniel was his favorite. The king admired Daniel's honesty and wisdom, trusting him with the kingdom's most important matters. Daniel's advice always helped the king make wise choices. King Darius felt Daniel was more than a helper. He was a true friend. Because of this trust, the king decided to make Daniel the leader over all the other officials. But not everyone was happy about Daniel's promotion. Jealousy began to grow among the other leaders. They watched Daniel closely, hoping to find a reason to bring him down. Their envy would soon lead to a dangerous plan. Daniel's faith was about to be tested like never before. The jealous officials were relentless. They scrutinized every aspect of Daniel's work, poring over documents and questioning his decisions. But no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't find any fault in Daniel. Their frustration grew with each passing day. He was simply too honest and hardworking. His integrity was unshakable, and his dedication to his duties was unmatched. He was a pillar of the community, always ready to lend a helping hand to those in need. Frustrated beyond measure, they huddled together, their minds racing to find a way to bring him down. Finally, they came up with a sneaky plan, a devious scheme that they believed was foolproof. They decided they would use Daniel's unwavering faith against him, twisting his devotion into a weapon. "Let's make a law," one of them hissed, "that no one can pray to any god or person but the king for 30 days. They whispered, their eyes gleaming with malicious intent. "And if anyone disobeys this decree," another added, "they'll be thrown into the lion's den. A gruesome end for anyone who dares to defy the king's authority." The officials, their hearts filled with deceit, hurried to King Darius, pretending to honor him with their proposal. "O king, live forever," they exclaimed. "We propose a new law for 30 days. No prayers to any god or person except to you, your majesty." The king, flattered by their apparent loyalty and completely unaware of their wicked trick, readily agreed and signed the law, sealing Daniel's fate without realizing it. Once a law was signed and sealed in Babylon under the king's authority, it was considered unchangeable, an immutable decree that could never be altered or revoked. The trap was meticulously set, and the officials, their eyes gleaming with anticipation, waited eagerly for Daniel to unknowingly break the new rule. They were absolutely certain that Daniel, a man of unwavering faith, would never stop praying to his God, no matter the consequences. Their plan was undeniably cruel, a heartless scheme designed to destroy a good man, but they were absolutely sure in their twisted minds that it would work perfectly. Now all they had to do was watch, wait, and savor the moment when their wicked plan would finally come to fruition. Unbeknownst to Daniel, his unwavering faithfulness and devotion were about to put him in grave danger, a perilous situation that could cost him his life. Daniel heard about the new law, a decree specifically designed to undermine his faith and trap him. But he didn't hide or stop praying, not even for a moment. His commitment to God was unwavering, a beacon of hope in a dark time. He went home, his heart filled with a quiet determination. He opened his window toward Jerusalem, a symbolic act of devotion connecting him to his heritage and his God. And he prayed just as he always did, 3 times a day without fail. His prayers were a lifeline, a constant conversation with the divine. Daniel chose to obey God no matter the cost. He valued his relationship with God more than any earthly law, especially one made to trap him. The jealous officials lurking and spying outside saw Daniel praying, a sight that confirmed their wicked suspicions. They rushed to tell the king, their hearts filled with malicious glee. "We caught him!" they shouted, their voices dripping with triumph. They were eager to see Daniel punished, to witness his downfall. Their plan had worked, or so they thought. Daniel had broken the king's new law, a law designed to test his faith. The officials hurried to the palace, their steps quick with anticipation. They were ready to tattle and see Daniel thrown to the lions, a gruesome fate they believed he deserved. Daniel's courage in the face of danger was clear for all to see, a testament to his unwavering faith. He trusted God completely and without reservation. He trusted God even when it meant risking everything, even his very life. The stage was set for a dramatic showdown, a clash between faith and power. Daniel's faith would soon be tested in the most terrifying way, a trial by fire that would reveal the depth of his devotion. The officials were certain they had finally defeated him, that their plot had finally succeeded. But Daniel's story was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. The officials, their faces etched with anger and determination, burst into the throne room. They wasted no time, accusing Daniel of breaking the law, their voices echoing with indignation and self-righteousness. They presented their case with carefully constructed arguments designed to leave no room for doubt. King Darius was devastated. His heart sank as he listened to the accusations. He realized far too late that he'd been tricked, manipulated by jealous officials seeking to eliminate a rival. The weight of his mistake pressed down on him. He tried all day to save Daniel, poring over ancient texts and consulting with his advisors, searching for any loophole or legal precedent that could overturn the decree. But the law once enacted could not be changed, not even by the king himself. It was an unyielding, unbreakable rule. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the city, guards, their faces grim, led Daniel, bound in chains, to the lion's den. The air was thick with tension and despair. The king, heartbroken and filled with remorse, told Daniel, his voice barely a whisper, "May your God, whom you serve so faithfully, rescue you from this terrible fate." Daniel was calm, his face serene despite the danger he faced. He was trusting God completely, placing his life in his hands. And so he was lowered into the dark, roaring pit, the sounds of the hungry lions echoing around him. The stone, heavy and unforgiving, was rolled over the entrance, sealing Daniel inside with the hungry lions, cutting him off from the world above. King Darius spent the night in misery, pacing the halls of his palace, unable to find any comfort. He was unable to eat or sleep, his mind tormented by the fate of his loyal friend. He spent the hours watching the sky, worrying about his friend and praying for a miracle. Daniel's fate seemed sealed, the stone a symbol of the finality of his situation. But he was not afraid, his faith unwavering in the face of unimaginable danger. Even in the darkness of the lion's den, surrounded by danger, he knew God was with him, a constant presence in the midst of the storm. The palace was filled with sorrow and dread, the courtiers whispering anxiously about the events unfolding. But Daniel's heart was filled with peace, a quiet confidence that surpassed all understanding. The king could only hope for a miracle, clinging to the possibility that God would intervene. The night was long and silent, each hour stretching into an eternity as the fate of Daniel hung in the balance. But something incredible, something miraculous was about to happen, defying all expectations. In the darkness of the lion's den, Daniel was surrounded by growling, hungry beasts. Yet he wasn't afraid. He prayed, trusting God to protect him. As Daniel prayed, a sense of peace filled the den. The lions, instead of attacking, became calm and gentle. One lion rested its head in Daniel's lap, another curled up by his feet. The fierce animals acted like friendly kittens, not hungry predators. Daniel spent the night safe among the lions, untouched and unafraid. God's presence was stronger than any danger. While the king worried above, Daniel rested peacefully below. The impossible had happened. Daniel survived a night with lions. It was a miracle no one could explain. Daniel's faith had carried him through the darkest night. The lion's den became a place of peace, not fear. God had answered Daniel's prayer in the most amazing way. How did Daniel survive the lion's den? God sent an angel to protect him. The angel stood between Daniel and the lions, shutting their mouths. The lions, seeing the angel, became gentle and calm. The angel stayed all night, guarding Daniel from harm. Not a single scratch touched Daniel. God's power was greater than any danger. Daniel felt safe, knowing he was never alone. The angel's presence filled the den with light and peace. Daniel's trust in God was rewarded with a miraculous rescue. Even in the darkest places, God's protection is real. Daniel's faith had brought him through the night unharmed. At sunrise, King Darius rushed to the lion's den, calling out for Daniel. To his amazement, Daniel answered, "Alive and well!" The king ordered Daniel lifted from the pit. He was completely unharmed. Daniel explained, God sent his angel to shut the lions' mouths. The king was overjoyed and praised Daniel's God. He made a new law. Everyone must honor the God of Daniel, for he rescues and saves. Daniel was honored, and the jealous officials were punished. The whole kingdom learned of God's power and love. Daniel's faith had changed everything. From that day on, Daniel's story inspired all who heard it. God's faithfulness was clear for everyone to see, and Daniel continued to trust God no matter what.